So I'm making this video because there's a lot of new managers, or maybe even veteran managers out there that we either don't know or kind of forgot some of the key things that help a team get to a higher performance level. Right, so I mean, we all know that most of us get promoted to a management position, and we don't receive any kind of real formal training. It's just kind of, you were really good at whatever you did, and so here, now just, make all these other people do it as good as you did. And how to be able to accomplish that is very different usually than the skill set you had to get to where you got. So this is just kind of the first step in your management journey, and for those who've been managers for a while or leaders for a while, maybe it's just a refresher on the very first thing that I think should be done, and that is to set a goal. Right, so we talk a lot about goals and visions and how that works with people, and to me the difference between a goal and a vision is kind of like, I want to be the most productive department inside of the organization, and that's a vision that everybody can get behind, because most people want to be better. A goal is something that's actually measurable, right? So a vision would be something like, I want to be the best department that there ever is, and then the vision will motivate us to go to that destination, but we need a goal to be able to start tracking how we're going to get there. And those goals are smaller, they're specific, and they most certainly have to be measurable. And you have to have both, right? So you have a vision of where you want to be as a team, as a group of people working together, because that's what you are. We tend to forget about that, is that it's a group of humans coming together to do something. So first we all have to get on the same page and have the same vision. What is that something that we want to do? How do we, do we want to get better, and what does better look like? And then the second thing is establishing the goal. What's the first goal? What are the achievements that we want to happen in the next couple of months? And they kind of align with that more vague vision of where we want to be. And what you have to be careful of is that you don't want a goal that's too close, right? Because nobody grows inside of their comfort zone. Your growth happens on the edge and outside of the comfort zone. So if your goal is too close, then your growth is non-existent, right? And a way to think about this is just think about the first time you drove a car. So the first time you drove a car, you paid attention to everything. Am I pressing the gas soft or fast enough? The brake soft or fast enough? Am I in my lane? And man, you were just going through this whole checklist of things. It was complicated. You were excited about it because you can drive now. But there were 1,000 things that you were considering. Driving a car was actually a stretch goal for you at first when you first started driving the car. As time went along, if I told you to drive up and down the street today, say, well, when you go to work, what I want you to do is I want you to drive an extra 20 miles every day. That's not going to make you a better driver, right? Because I mean, when you were first learning and all of this was new, driving an extra 20 miles every day would have had a significant impact in your ability to drive. But today, if I tell you to do that, you're just going to be bored driving around the block and nothing's going to change. So when you're in your comfort zone, when you don't have to stretch, when you don't have to push to be able to get there, you're not going to experience any kind of growth in your team or production. Now, so you want to make sure that when you set the goal, that the goal requires them to push, to go beyond where they are right now. They're going to have to put in a little bit extra to be able to get there. And that will help your team continually grow, and their performance will overall increase, and that compounds on itself over time. And it leads you towards the vision. So the vision kind of motivates everybody, kind of gets the whole group together saying, we're going to do this together, we're going in this direction. And then the goal kind of sets the path how you're going to get there, but you have to have it far enough to where there's a stretch. But you also have to watch out that you don't place it too far. Because there's no better way to make a human stop doing something than to have them do a good job and then get beat for it. Get some kind of reprimand for it. So let's say that your goal was to increase, maybe a little. And then they met that, and then you did good, and they feel good about it, and then they're going to go about and they're going to do it again, right? So we're going to push that a little bit further. We're going to accomplish it just a little bit more. And then you start building on that, and you start stretching the goals out, and everybody in your team, if you have a team of 10 people, all 10 of them grew a little bit. See, and that compounds as it goes along. Now, if you set the goal too far, then they all work really hard to try to get there, and they fall short. And if they fall short of that, you've got to be very careful with how you manage that. Because if you set the goal too far and your team falls just slightly short, and then they get a very negative feedback, and so the people who did all that effort, who gave that extra bit more, and then they got that real negative feedback, they're going to stop doing what they were doing. Because you're not going to give more if you're going to get something bad. Right? Why would you put in more effort to only get bad returns? It doesn't make sense. It's not only does it not make logical sense, it's just a natural human thing. That's just the way that we work. And the other important thing about a goal is that it has to be looked at on a regular basis. And they tell us this, but they never really tell you why. Why is it important to review the vision and the goal on a pretty regular basis? And the reason is that we're animals of targets. And the best way for me to explain this to you is when you bought a car, right? So before you bought the car, chances are you didn't see a whole lot of those cars going around on the street. There just wasn't a lot of them as far as you were concerned. But as soon as you bought that car, you noticed every single car that was like yours that was on the road in every color that they made them in. Isn't that funny? So you went about your life and didn't even notice how many, XYZ car it is that you own existed in the world. And then as soon as you bought one, all of a sudden, or you were thinking really hard about buying one, all of a sudden you start seeing all of them. And it's because of the way that we're programmed. And that's why it's important to have a goal, because if you have a goal and then people are truly vested in it, they start seeing it, and then they start seeing ways of accomplishing it, and that way you get a little bit more progress going on. You could just simply set the goal, kind of set it and forget it, but if you do that, you don't get the benefit of kind of manipulating what we do as humans. That's because we're kind of a goal-oriented species. We kind of set a target, and then once we set a target, we think about it, we start seeing it. And not just seeing the goal, but seeing the things that relate to the goal, that are like the goal. And that's just kind of the way that we're built. Right? So you want to try to go over the vision and the goal on a fairly routine basis, because it will start helping your team, everybody in your team, kind of see the possibilities to be able to reach it. They're going to see the goal, they're going to see the openings, they're going to see the opportunities, and that's kind of how we work. It's just the way that we're built. So we want to take advantage of the way that our mind works, and you want to take advantage of the way that the mind of your people work. So that way you can put them in a position to succeed, because that is a big part of the job of a manager or of a leader. So number one is set a vision. Let's as a group of people, let's all agree kind of where we want to go, where we want to be as a group. And then let's break those down into goals. Now, we don't want a goal that's too close, because if the goal is too close, there's no growth. Nobody gets better. They just accomplish the goal. It's their daily routine. No one has gotten better at anything. Your team is just as good or as bad as it was yesterday. So you want to just stretch, because this growth happens right outside the comfort zone. Now, you don't want to set it too far because of the possibilities or the higher likelihoods of it failing. So it's a little bit of a wire act that you're doing. But if you do set it too far and you do push and you miss it by a little, that's okay. You can learn. What did we do? What can we do better? And that's the way you should approach that. You need to be very careful that if you do that and your team doesn't quite get there, but they put in the effort, right? They put in the effort, but they didn't quite get there. at that point, you need to make sure that you're looking at how can we continue to get better and not try to blame people for not reaching that goal. Because again, the best way to stop someone from doing something is that when they do something good, they get a negative reaction. That is the best way to make sure someone never does that again. And you certainly don't want to do that with your team. If you do those things at the start, you're already on a way or on a path to be able to bring that team to a different level. Now, I know it's a lot more complicated than that. There's 1,000 different other things that you need to do as a manager, but this is just the one, just to get you started as you go in there. If you have any questions, there's going to be a link down below in this video. Just click on that, ask me any questions that you have. I'd be happy to answer. And if you have any feedback, you can put it in the comments. And if you want anything or want me to talk about anything specific, I'll be more than happy to make a little video or maybe write an article and post it up so you're able to see it.